Discover the incredible moment when a single mom transformed a mafia boss's life in 30 days. Hannah wiped the sweat from her brow as she entered the patient room, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like persistent gnats. A heavy silence hung in the air, thick with unspoken words. It was just another shift, another day juggling the demands of nursing at St. Joseph's along with the relentless pressures of single motherhood. But fate had a different plan for her tonight. Tony, the infamous mafia boss, lay bandaged and bruised before her, an imposing figure whose very name sent shivers through her neighborhood. The reality that she was now responsible for this man churned inside her, fueling a cocktail of fear and an unsettling curiosity. She glanced at the charts, her heart drumming in her chest. What did it mean to care for a man with blood on his hands? Each beat amplified her worries. Bills were mounting at home, her kids needed new shoes for school, but here she was, stuck, facing danger wrapped in the guise of a patient. She took a breath, reminding herself that her duty as a nurse was unwavering, impenetrable. Still, a dark part of her mind whispered questions. Was she putting her children at risk? Could she really offer compassion to a man whose life was built on cruelty? Before they spoke, Hannah noticed something in Tony's eyes, vulnerability flickering in the shadows. It unnerved her. She approached cautiously, using her steady bedside manner to mask the racing thoughts. "How are you feeling?" she asked, her voice as soothing as she could manage in a life filled with tension. "Depends who's asking," Tony replied, his voice gravelly, laden with implications. That was her first mistake, opening the door to a conversation. Yet something tugged at her. Perhaps it was the mother in her, instinctively drawn to mend what was broken. As days turned into nights, every interaction pulled frayed threads of their lives closer together. She learned he was grappling with a past filled with regret. Guilt was as palpable as the stench of antiseptic that surrounded them. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Every shared story drew her deeper into his darkness, yet her own world loomed as stark and unyielding as it had the day before. Her children would wake up wanting breakfast, needing her to be present, focused, and safe. But here she was, tiptoeing on a tightrope between morality and survival. As night fell, news of rival mobs echoed in her mind. As she helped Tony bandage his wounds, she felt waves of anxiety crash over her. Was she nurturing a monster or guiding a man toward salvation? Her hands trembled, not from fear of him, but for the threats that lingered just outside the hospital doors. If he slipped back into his old life, if the darkness reclaimed him, would he drag her down too? The tension in the air was thick enough to slice. Just as she began questioning her own choices, the emergency doors slammed open, and the world outside bled into her sterile sanctuary. Suddenly, the stakes were no longer just about him. They involved the safety of everything she cherished. Hannah squeezed the medical gear in her hand, every second pulsing with urgency. Could compassion truly be the catalyst for change? She found herself standing at a precipice, one step away from unraveling, her heart confused and heavy with the anticipation of what might come next. Would Tony's past crash into her life, threatening to tear apart the fragile existence she'd built for her children? The abyss of uncertainty loomed large, tightening around her throat. The chaos that erupted as the emergency doors flung open reverberated through Hannah's senses, sharpening her awareness. The onslaught of shouting voices, gurneys rattling across the tile, and the frenetic energy of her fellow nurses surged around her. It should have pushed her into the background, a mere specter absorbed in the tidal wave of urgent care, but instead, it amplified her resolve. She cast a furtive glance at Tony, who seemed to retreat further into himself, a fragile fortress amidst the clamor. Their previous exchanges, those tender moments of shared vulnerability, now pulsed like a heartbeat through the noise. What if he retreated into the shadows of his old life? What if the moment she turned her back, he vanished into darkness, dragging her hopes for redemption with him? Hannah gripped the chart, anxious thoughts coiling like snakes in her abdomen. In the midst of this crisis, when the world outside demanded more than she had, the whispers of doubt began to crowd her mind. Could she truly bring light into a life that was woven with violence and desperation? In a matter of nights, Hannah had morphed from a caregiver to a pivotal character in an unseen play. Her decisions now felt monumental. Steeling herself, she sought out Tony's hand, brushing away the remnants of antiseptic and bandaging with an earnestness that surprised even herself. While she worked, her mind raced. Every piece of gauze she wrapped was a promise to herself. She would not shy away from the unknown. If compassion had a chance to spark change, she would fan those flames, regardless of the darkness that surrounded them both. "Tony," she began, her voice barely cutting through the ungodly clamor, "you're not just a patient to me. You're a man who has a choice." Her heart raced, but she pressed on, driven by an instinct that belied her fears. "We've all faced our demons. You can choose to fight your way back." The air thickened as his gaze bore into hers, challenging yet intrigued. She could see the battle within him, years of hardened pride against the raw vulnerabilities she had unveiled. For a heartbeat, time hung suspended as their lives collided. With every passing second, the weight of responsibilities seeped deeper into her bones. Yet, could she truly afford to entwine their fates? As nurses surged past in a flurry, Hannah felt that formidable reality consolidate around her. This man was intricately connected to the threats looming over her life. His existence was a double-edged sword, sharp enough to slice through her world, yet she was drawn to him like a moth to the flame. Maybe it was the thin line between caregiver and savior that ensnared her. But did she have the stamina to remain unflinching, to see what lay beyond fear and forge strength from it? Just as she was lost in thought, an eerie stillness fell over the room, as if everyone held their breath, a signal of an imminent confrontation. In the midst of the chaos, she spotted the figures entering the unit. Tension prickled her skin as a menacing presence hovered at the threshold, and she realized that this was not a random discord. A dangerous person had come searching for Tony. Would her newfound courage hold when faced with imminent peril? In the blink of an eye, everything would change. As she steeled herself for the upcoming challenge, a singular thought flashed like a neon sign. What kind of person was she willing to become for the sake of those she loved, and for the man before her, teetering on the edge of redemption? With the weight of choice pressing down, Hannah faltered only briefly before resolving to stand her ground. The moment of truth arrived, and with it, her future, and perhaps Tony's, waited to unfold in the shadows ahead. Hannah felt the air around her electrify as she faced the figure looming at the entrance. Time stretched as she processed the dangerous silhouette, a haunting reminder of the life Tony had fled. It took only one heartbeat for her instincts to kick in, urging her to act rather than freeze in place. Her choice crystallized. She would not allow fear to engulf her. She would wield her courage like a shield. "Stay behind me," she instructed Tony, her voice resolute, cutting through the tension that threatened to collapse around them. The weight of her authority surprised her. She had spent so long caring for others, blending into the background as a nurse. But now she felt a spark of strength she hadn't known existed within her. It was a new role, one that demanded she confront not just the external threat, but also the uncertainty swirling within her. The man at the door scanned the chaotic scene, his eyes narrowing as they landed on Tony, who remained resolutely still. In that moment, Hannah realized that their fates were entwined. She had to protect him, but she also needed to uncover the depths of her new self. Her heartbeat thrummed steadily, matching the rhythm of her growing resolve. "Who the hell are you?" the man spat, his disdain palpable. Hannah stepped forward, driven by an instinctual need to shield Tony. "He's not the man you're looking for. This isn't what you think." Each word felt like a calculated risk, yet as she spoke, she could feel the edges of her hesitation melting away. This was a decisive moment where she'd either fortify her defenses or crumble beneath the weight of intimidation. The man chuckled darkly, a sound devoid of humor. "You think you can save him, girl? He belongs to a world you can't even begin to understand." His gaze pierced through her, manufacturing a mental tug-of-war where she stood on shaky ground. But with each exchange, Hannah felt her resolve fortifying. "Maybe I don't understand that world, but I see the man Tony can become, and I will fight for him, even if it means standing against you." There was defiance in her voice, a clarity she hadn't known she possessed. Each statement resonated with her journey. From self-doubt to empowerment, she was a warrior now, not just a nurse. Tony's grip tightened around her hand, and she could sense the shift within him as he absorbed her words. He was watching her, and in that moment, she realized she was not just fighting for him, but for herself as well. Their fates had become a single thread, weaving fear and strength into a tangible tapestry of resilience. As the confrontation escalated, Hannah could feel the air thicken with paranoia and danger. She recognized that she was traversing uncharted territory, not only for Tony, but also for her own identity. This confrontation became a crucible, forcing her to burn through layers of complacency and emerge with a clearer sense of who she was willing to become. The man's eyes flared with warning, but Hannah didn't waver. She sensed the weight of this confrontation rippling through the hospital, touching every corner of her life. Could she truly hold her ground when faced with the complexities of Tony's past? The questions bore down on her, but invigorated her spirit. This was a test of inner strength she had long avoided. Suddenly, a realization hit her. This was not merely a moment of survival, but also an opportunity for transformation. In that charged atmosphere, as uncertainty danced on the edge of chaos, she faced the truth of her situation with unyielding clarity. "Leave now and let him go," she demanded, standing tall, the authority of her newfound self encasing her. Panic surged within. What if he retaliated? What if she was wrong about Tony's ability to change? But as she looked toward Tony, she realized that the stakes of her personal development extended beyond the immediate danger. The man took a step closer, the distance between them thick with tension, and she felt breathless, the moment teetering on a knife's edge. Would dawn bring light or darkness? Her heart raced as a familiar voice whispered in her mind. She had to decide what kind of warrior she would be, for herself and for Tony. The very air around them vibrated with unresolved tension, and as she awaited the man's response, her thoughts raced ahead, anticipating the confluence of their fates. Would this moment plunge her deeper into danger, or usher in a new chapter in their intertwined lives? The answer loomed just out of reach, tantalizing and terrifying. The man stepped closer, eyes darkened with a volatile mix of contempt and menace. Hannah's pulse quickened, but she stood her ground, feet planted firmly on the floor, an island of resolve amid the swelling storm of intimidation. "Are you deaf, girl? You're barking for nothing." His lips curled into a sneer, and Hannah could see the resolve in his eyes that promised violence if she didn't back down. In that instant, a surge of adrenaline coursed through her. Hannah had often been a bystander, a silent guardian in scrubs, watching lengthy decisions unfold around her. Now she was at the center, orchestrating the rustling tide of danger and defiance. Empowerment sparked behind her fear, igniting a pathway for her voice to rise above the chaos. "I will not let you take him," she shouted, the power in her tone shocking even herself. Each word hung heavily in the air, vibrating against the backdrop of the hospital chaos around them. Behind her, Tony stirred, bolstered by her unwavering stance. For the first time, he seemed to draw strength from her determination, rather than despair. The man's gaze flickered between the two of them, and in that moment, Hannah recognized an unexpected ally. She was not simply fighting for Tony, they were fighting together against a past that sought to reclaim him. "Tony is not your pawn," she continued, each word building in strength as she discovered the depth of her conviction. "He is reshaping his life, and I won't allow you to sweep him back into that darkness." The man's derision deepened into laughter, a bass and mocking sound. Yet Hannah sensed a flicker of uncertainty beneath its surface. Fueled by her rising resolve, she pressed on. "You don't scare me. You're just a voice in a long line of voices telling him who he should be. But I know who he is fundamentally, more than you ever will." Hannah's heart thundered in her chest, but now it felt less like dread and more like raw potential. She was pushing through the dense wall of fear she had leaned on for so long, her words cascading, gaining momentum. A strangled sound escaped the man, a mixture of anger and something resembling confusion. "You think this ends here?" he grunted, a hard edge suddenly gracing his features. "You're in over your head." "No, you are," she countered, matching the fierce glint in his eyes with unwavering resolve. "You underestimate what we're capable of." Tony's hand tightened on her wrist, a subtle gesture that reinforced their solidarity. It felt as if the air thickened around him as he began to find his own voice, not merely to support her, but to define himself against the very forces threatening to pull him under. "Just leave," he said, his voice stronger than Hannah had ever heard it. "You're wrong about both of us. You don't get to dictate our paths anymore. We're moving forward." Hannah's spine straightened. She could feel the change in the atmosphere. The room became less a battleground and more a stage for their shared transformation. There was something undeniably potent in the realization that she was no longer alone. The figure before them recoiled, surprise shadowing anger, and Hannah could sense his fading power in the face of their union. A fleeting smile brushed across her lips. She could see the edges of a future just beyond the horizon. But uncertainty tinged the air. The man still possessed danger, and the threat remained clouded over them. "Next time," he spat, a palpable rage shimmering in the air. "You won't be so lucky." And with that, he stepped retreating away, an ominous shadow leaving behind the whisper of a distant threat. The sharp inhale of released tension brought clarity to Hannah, but the burdens of coming trials lay at her doorstep. "Are you okay?" she asked Tony, her voice softening, searching for confirmation in his gaze. "Yeah," he replied, uncertainty still lacing his tone. "But I've got a lot to face, don't I?" Hannah nodded, the weight of reality crashing back around them. This was only the beginning of a more profound journey. Away from simply fighting for Tony's freedom, she now faced the challenge of navigating the complexities of his choice to change, while addressing her evolving identity amid it all. But she felt a steely determination rising within her, a pulse of purpose unbroken. Tomorrow, there would be more to confront, more choices to make. What lay ahead was unknown, imbued with fear, but also with unwritten strength. As they stood together, their world shifted beneath them, teetering on the brink of a new chapter. How would they maneuver through the unpredictability awaiting them? The paths of courage and vulnerability intertwined, ready to unravel in ways none of them could yet imagine. Hannah leaned against the cold wall of the hospital corridor, feeling the cool tiles against her back grounding her as she processed the confrontation. The echo of the man's harsh words and the unshaken resolve of her voice danced in her mind like a haunting refrain. Could she really stand firm against this impending storm? She had steered the ship through the stormy waters today, but the depths of uncharted emotion lay just ahead. "I need to figure out what this will mean for us," she murmured, more to herself than to Tony. He was a man who had once surrendered to the darkness, but now he was staring down his path, weighted with uncertainty and newfound strength. Yet the shadows of his past would not dissipate easily. What if he comes back? Tony's voice trembled across the chasm of their shared silence. She turned to meet his gaze, seeking to bolster his resolve with her own. Then we'll be ready. Her voice sounded stable, but beneath, waves of doubt crashed against her certainty. Did she really know how to face what lurked in the crevices of her past? She had taken the first step, but there were countless choices ahead that would challenge her commitment. In the subsequent hours, Hannah's mind raced with planning. Shifts at the hospital had grown increasingly demanding, and she was forced to juggle the weight of her duties with the emotional strands of her relationship with Tony. Each task she performed felt routine, yet they were steeping in the pressure cooker of her mind, clearly exhibiting the intricate balance between obligation and aspiration. She found herself at the nurse's station, thumbing through patient charts. How many others, like Tony, were grappling with struggles unseen? The question stirred an undeniable sense of empathy within her. Maybe her mission had shifted from mere professional duty to something entirely transformational. What if she could be the catalyst for not just Tony, but others burdened by their choices? The realization struck Hannah like a lightning bolt, igniting the depth of her commitment. This wasn't merely about saving Tony, it was about reshaping lives, including her own. Each day offered new potential, unearthing fragments of her identity she had long buried beneath the weight of fear and obligation. Yet, with this epiphany came moral complexities. Each interaction with patients presented an opportunity for healing, not only healing bodies, but mending spirits. As she navigated through her responsibilities, she sensed the flicker of her own yearnings tucked away, almost apologetic in their demands. The call to impact those around her ignited questions of who she wanted to become and what sacrifices she was willing to make for the sake of that vision. Later that evening, as she sat on her small porch, the tepid air wrapping around her, Hannah replayed the day's events. The confrontation had stripped her layers bare, exposing underlying questions that demanded answers. Why had she previously allowed fear to dictate her choices? Should she return to being merely a bystander in life, or risk everything for a chance at becoming a powerful agent of change? The flickering streetlight illuminated her surroundings, casting shadows of doubt and hope intertwined. "Tomorrow," she asserted aloud to the quiet, "I'll confront the roots of my hesitation. I will reach out to that support group for people like Tony." The thought ricocheted through her. Support, not just for him, but for her as well. This was a pivotal juncture, a choice that could redefine everything. As the night deepened, uncertainty mingled with the burgeoning resolve within her. The path was illuminated, yet fraught with emotional thorns that would challenge her at each turn. As the darkness faded with dawn's approach, she could see it, the moment she would stand on the precipice of her newfound mission. What would be her first step toward unearthing this strength within herself, and what revelations awaited on the other side? Little did she know, her decision would pull her further into that tangled web of Tony's past, setting the stage for an imminent confrontation that would test every fiber of her being. Was she prepared to dive into that chaos, or would the realities threaten to drown her newfound resolve? The sun rose with a gritty resolve, and Hannah took in a deep breath as she stood by her kitchen window, contemplating the day ahead. It felt surreal to be on the edge of such a pivotal transformation. Each choice she made could ripple outward, and uncertainty vibrated in her core like a hummingbird's wings. Today was the day she would reach out to that support group for partners of individuals struggling with past traumas. It felt significant, yet daunting. Would she find the courage to share not only her support for Tony, but also the hidden fears that clutched at her heart? The vulnerability struck her like a punch. Standing up for another meant she had to stand up to herself first, a confrontation all too intimate. At the hospital, as she perused the familiar, sterile corridors, every interaction became a silent assessment of her path. A patient smiled weakly as she passed, and in that small connection, Hannah felt a flicker of what she truly sought: purpose. Her heart raced with a mix of apprehension and eagerness, the same whirlwind of emotions that had gravitated toward Tony since the moment she understood his pain. She found refuge at the nurse's station, the hum of activity wrapping around her like armor. Yet beneath that facade, questions gnawed at her. Was she truly equipped to handle this new responsibility? What if she faltered when the moment of truth arrived? As her shift progressed, these challenges began to resonate with the patients to whom she instinctively reached out. She engaged in conversation with a young mother struggling with fear, offering not just medical advice, but her own vulnerabilities. "I know how it feels to be scared, to want to run away, but not know where to go," she found herself impassionately recounting. The young woman's gaze widened, and for a moment, there was a shared understanding that transcended their individual struggles. In that instant, seated at the edge of her empathic table, Hannah unearthed a piece of herself she had buried beneath professional duties. The healing wasn't just for those she cared for, it was weaving its way back into her own spirit. With each patient interaction, Hannah began to redefine what it meant to be a nurse, not merely a caregiver, but a vessel of shared experience. With every story exchanged, her commitment to venture beyond her comfort zone blossomed. Perhaps this was the strength she had longed for. It was an understanding that extended beyond Tony and her role in his life. As the sun dipped beneath the hospital horizon, she caught a glimpse of her reflection in the glass doors. A woman painfully aware of the cogs turning in her mind, yet steadfast in her quest for purpose. Stepping outside, Hannah clutched her phone with resolve, ready to make the call to the support group. There was no grand gesture, no moment of pretense, just one small step for a woman on the brink of a massive leap into the unknown. But as she dialed, the weight of anticipation threatened to crush her newfound confidence. Would they understand her the way she had just begun to understand herself? The line rang, echoing her vulnerability back at her. In this moment, she stood at the crossroads, teetering between the old Hannah and the agent of change she aspired to be. "Hello?" The voice on the other end jolted her senses, igniting the flames of potential conflict. "Hi, I'm Hannah," she said, her voice steady but laced with the resolve of a woman unwilling to retreat any longer. "I want to talk about how I can help." What emerged from that conversation would lead her directly into the heart of Tony's darkest trials. The next step unfolded, and with it, the reality of her journey and its repercussions loomed ever closer. Would her choice to engage not only reshape others' lives, but irrevocably alter her own as well? Hannah hung up the phone, the weight of the conversation still echoing in her mind. The reassurance she sought remained just out of reach, tantalizingly close, yet frustratingly elusive. The voice of the support group leader held warmth and acceptance, but beneath that surface lay a wellspring of personal narratives. Would her stories blend seamlessly into this new community, or would they only amplify her insecurities? Determination surged within her as she steered her car home. The night had draped itself over the city like a heavy blanket, each streetlight a beacon illuminating her thoughts. With each mile that passed, she reviewed the path that had brought her to this juncture. The gentle push she had found in the hospital now felt like a tidal wave, demanding she dive into the depths of her emotions. Once home, she sank into her favorite armchair with a cup of herbal tea, the steam curling around her like an embrace. She closed her eyes, allowing herself a moment of stillness. In this quiet space, she began to sift through her feelings about Tony, her role in his healing journey becoming increasingly intertwined with her own need to confront the shadows within her. Suddenly, the softness of her chair felt oppressive. The metaphoric weight bore down on her, and she snapped her eyes open. She needed to act. Reflection without action felt futile. Inspired and a little apprehensive, she grabbed her notebook, which she'd kept hidden under heaps of old receipts and forgotten to-do lists. A surge of excitement blazed through her. Writing had always been her conduit for clarity, her sanctuary for peeling back the layers of her psyche. Words flowed seamlessly onto the page, detailing not only her fears about Tony, but also her reservations about her own capacity to provide support without losing herself. Each stroke of the pen felt cathartic, shedding the skin of doubt that had limited her growth. As she drafted her thoughts into structured sentences, Hannah uncovered truths that made her heart race with a mix of fear and exhilaration. The intensity she felt for Tony wasn't merely sympathy, it had morphed into a powerful empathy, urging her to confront her own scars. In opening herself up, she could build a stronger connection with him, catalyzing the healing they both desperately needed. The lamp beside her flickered, as if encouraging her to keep writing. Before she knew it, she had penned an entire letter addressed to Tony. She reflected on moments together, weaving narratives of laughter and pain, and laying bare her vulnerabilities. She realized that vulnerability would not only allow her to embrace Tony's darkness, but might also empower him to embrace the light she was trying to cultivate within her. But the question loomed: could she read this letter to him? Would he receive it as intended, or would it become a chasm through which her insecurities poured out uncontrollably? Burdened by the weight of the decision, she leaned back, considering the next steps in their journey. Clarity illuminated her path, revealing that she had to engage, to be present. But how would she navigate the complexities of both their pasts without losing herself in the process? Just as doubt began to creep back in, her phone buzzed. It was a message from the support group, a reminder about their first meeting. Hannah's heart raced again, this time with urgency. In that instant, she understood this gathering would not only be a collective healing experience, but also a pivotal moment for her and, perhaps, for Tony. She pushed her notebook aside and stood tall, embracing the identity she was beginning to forge. Tomorrow, she would not just attend, she would engage, fully and unapologetically. As dawn approached, illuminating her scattered thoughts, Hannah felt invigorated. The time had come for action, yet in the pit of her stomach, a new tension bubbled. What if she didn't fit in with the group? Would her story resonate, or would she be met with judgment? The answer awaited her in an unknown territory, and that mystery filled her with both dread and exhilaration. Tomorrow could change everything. The morning light seeped through her curtains, casting warm patterns across the room. Hannah lay awake, mind racing with thoughts of the upcoming support group meeting. The stakes felt monumental. She hadn't just committed to being present, but to exposing the very core of who she was, in a space filled with strangers. What if her honesty unearthed experiences they couldn't understand? And more importantly, what if it revealed more about herself than she was ready to confront? With a deep breath, she reminded herself that this was an opportunity for growth, a chance to replace uncertainty with courage. She tossed her blanket aside and slipped into the day, preparing herself for what lay ahead. Each ritual felt like an affirmation. Water splashed on her face, the scent of coffee brewing, the familiar tingle of anticipation in her gut. As she arrived at the community center, the facade of the building loomed large, yet inviting. Stepping across the threshold felt akin to crossing a divide between her old self and the new Hannah that was steadily emerging. With every step, her heartbeat steadied, the rhythm guiding her into deeper waters. She took a moment to inhale, absorbing the energy of the space. Inside, a gathering of chairs formed a half circle, creating an intimate atmosphere. Each participant seemed cautious, yet hopeful, their faces mirroring her own apprehensions. Hannah's pulse quickened, but she fought against the surge of doubt. This was not merely an exercise in vulnerability, it was a masterclass in empathy. As the group began, the leader introduced the session with a warmth that enveloped everyone. Hannah listened intently, tuning in to the shared stories. There was a tangible weight to each admission, a shared struggle that stumbled through the air, laden with the desires for understanding and connection. What she heard resonated in unexpected ways, unlocking further questions about her own past. When it was her turn to introduce herself, she swallowed hard. Each expected moment of anxious breath turned into an enigmatic opportunity. She shared snippets of her journey, eloquently weaving in her fears while allowing the truth of her experiences to shine. As she spoke, she found that her words did not falter. Rather, they sculpted a fragile bridge to her fellow participants. Nervous energy gave way to solidarity as she perceived nods of understanding, affirmations echoing in silence. Hannah felt a spark within. Perhaps it wasn't about fitting in, it was about being real. The group's vulnerability mirrored her own, creating an environment that felt safe for emotional exploration. With each shared narrative, her insecurities began to dissipate, revealing a profound connection to the others in the room. It was an emotional exchange where veils of facades melted, unearthing commonality in pain and a vision for healing. By the end of the session, Hannah's notebook was filled with insights, not just about the others, but crucial revelations about herself. Engaging in authentic conversation illuminated hidden competencies she had long overlooked. She realized that her unique strengths lay not just in empathy, but in the ability to devise a safe space for others to share their stories. This awareness buoyed her spirit, igniting a passion for deeper connection. Walking back to her car, Hannah felt lighter, a profound weight lifted. She grasped that the true journey of healing required more than support. It necessitated involvement, active participation in the narratives of others while unearthing the depths of her own. As she got in her car, she glanced at her phone, hesitating as she deliberated reaching out to Tony. Would sharing her experiences empower him as they did her? Or would it push him away, reveal vulnerabilities he was not ready to embrace? With a deep breath, she clicked the screen, ready to bridge the gap between their connected paths, uncertain yet hopeful about the implications of her decision. But as the message began to form, another notification chimed in. It was a reminder for a meeting at Tony's rehabilitation center, one she hadn't anticipated, one that could change everything. Hannah sat in her car, the engine humming beneath her as her heart raced. Tony's rehabilitation meeting lingered in her mind like a threat and an opportunity wrapped in the same package. It felt serendipitous that just after sharing her own vulnerability in the support group, she now had a chance to offer that same level of honesty and openness to him. But was she truly prepared to take on this new role? The implications loomed heavy. By stepping forward as a confidant, she could awaken something in Tony, perhaps a sense of connection that had faded with time and distance. But it also risked overwhelming him, bearing the weight of her own struggles. Could she navigate this delicate balance between strength and fragility without compromising both their healing processes? She looked down at the phone, a tether to both her past and present. The message to Tony suddenly felt colossal, each word tinged with the uncharted territory of emotions. Her hand trembled as she hesitated, caught between an impulse to share and fear of misunderstanding. What was it she truly wanted? Was it validation or the desire to lend him strength? As she drove toward the rehabilitation center, her thoughts circled back to her journey thus far. The support group had been a revelation. Every story shared nudged her closer to self-acceptance. It wasn't merely her own trepidation she had shed, but a budding realization of how deeply interconnected human experiences can be. The very act of sharing had inched her toward understanding her role, not just as a seeker of support, but as a beacon so others may find their way too. Arriving at the rehabilitation center, Hannah parked and took a moment to survey the building. Its exterior exuded an aura of resilience, just as she intended to embody today. She opened the door and walked inside, greeted by antiseptic smells saturated with the mixed emotions of hopeful recovery. Clusters of faces, some familiar and others new, conveyed a tapestry of struggle and strength. Seated in a designated area, the attendees were predominantly men, their bravado often belied by the flickers of vulnerability that danced behind their gazes. The air was thick with anticipation, as they gathered not just for guidance, but for connection with one another. Hannah felt her heart synchronize with the collective rhythm of this space, the conscious grasp of a shared commitment. As the session commenced, the moderator spoke about the importance of recognizing one's past to navigate a future with intent. Hannah listened intently, absorbing every word. The narratives of hardship complemented her own. She could see shadows of regret in their eyes and a flicker of hope in their gestures. The discussion shifted toward how faith can be a guiding light. and she felt the urge to contribute her voice, the very same voice she had just harnessed in the support group. When it came time for sharing, she stood up. This time, rather than recount her struggles, she opted to draw parallels to what she had witnessed in the group. She spoke about the beauty of vulnerability, of how a shared experience can unravel barriers. Her words ignited a spark in the room, and as she locked eyes with Tony across the circle, a silent conversation unfolded. She was unable to read his expression completely, but for the first time in a long while, he didn't look away. Her confidence surged like a torrent, washing away her lingering fears. She wasn't just recounting her past, she was crafting a bridge toward new beginnings, for herself and for those who surrounded her. Perhaps this was the very role she was intended to play. As the meeting concluded and conversations meandered into personal discussions, she found herself sidling up to Tony. The trepidation she felt earlier had dissolved, replaced with a burgeoning desire to connect. "Hey, do you have a moment?" she asked, her voice steady yet soft. Tony looked up, his brow slightly furrowed, but curiosity glinting in his eyes. "I think we should talk," she added, feeling the weight of the moment settle in. But just as she opened her heart, an unexpected voice raised from the group, cutting through the air and drawing all attention. The tension shifted subtly, and for a fleeting moment, Hannah sensed the pull of a storm brewing. The time had come to face what she wanted and the darkness that held Tony captive. Hannah stood on the precipice of transformation, the air thick with potential as the last echoes of the group faded. She had cast aside her hesitations and emerged victorious, yet the confrontation with Tony loomed as an undeniable hurdle, one that promised to test her resolve. "Let's step outside," she suggested, unable to ignore the weariness etched across Tony's face. He nodded silently, and together they walked through the sunlit corridors until they found a secluded bench outside. The gentle rustle of leaves overhead offered a welcome reprieve from the weightiness of their conversation. Sitting beside him, she felt the cool breeze invigorate her spirit. "Tony, I see you facing your past, and I want you to know that I'm here," she began, the words tumbling forth with unexpected clarity. "We can tackle this together. You don't have to carry this weight alone anymore." Tony shifted, his expression a jumbled mix of vulnerability and guardedness. "You don't know what you're asking for," he replied, his voice heavy with the gravity of old wounds. "This isn't just about me or where I came from. There are people who won't let me go that easily." "Maybe that's true, but it doesn't have to dictate your future," she countered, her voice unwavering. "You've taken the first steps toward change, and I believe you have the strength to keep going. I've seen it in you. I felt it." Their eyes locked, a fleeting moment pregnant with possibility. Hannah sensed the fraying tether of Tony's past slowly beginning to unravel. "I can't," he started, but Hannah gently interrupted, the fire of her conviction igniting a spark of courage within him. "Yes, you can. You've been given a second chance, not just by the program, but by yourself. And it's not just about survival anymore. It's about living fully. It's about embracing the potential within you." She leaned closer, her sincerity drawing him in like a moth to a flame. "Think about what it would feel like to leave that life behind, to choose who you want to be without the shadows. Couldn't you want that? Don't you deserve it?" Tony hesitated, searching her gaze for a fold of truth in his labyrinth of fears. His resilience was palpable. She could see it simmering, yearning to break free. But as she waited, the darkness that had once gripped him returned, whispering remnants of doubt and uncertainty. "Why do you care?" His voice was low. "Why put yourself through this?" "Because I see the man you can become. You're worth it. Your past doesn't define you." Hannah felt a powerful resolve build within her, bridging the divide between them. This wasn't simply about aiding him. It was about not losing herself in his shadows. It was about acceptance and healing for both of them. The silence that followed was laden with heavy contemplation. As Tony soaked in her heartfelt admission, something shifted. She sensed the slightest thawing of his defenses, the iron grip of old habits loosening its chokehold. "I've never had anyone believe in me like this," he admitted, a mixture of awe and disbelief punctuating his voice. "Not in a long time." "Then let me be that person," she responded, her heart surging with conviction. "Together, we can navigate the complexity of the past while holding on to the future we want to create." Time seemed to coalesce into a singular moment as Tony searched his heart, grappling with the churn of emotions bubbling to the surface. The darkness hadn't vanished entirely, but the flicker of hope she offered served as an undeniable lifeline. Swallowing hard, Tony leaned forward. "What if I falter? What if I can't see my way forward?" Hannah smiled gently, a warmth radiating from the connection they shared. "Then we'll find our way together. Nothing is permanent. We adapt, we grow, and we keep pushing forward." Just like that, she felt a shift in the air, a promise of commitment coalescing between them. They stood at the threshold of a new chapter, one that promised healing not only for Tony, but also for herself. The trials they faced would be daunting, but there was a sense of solidarity and strength emanating from their newfound resolve. As the sun dipped low on the horizon, leaving hues of amber and gold in its wake, Hannah and Tony shared a moment of understanding, fortifying their connection like a rugged lifeline against the chaotic tides ahead. This was the beginning of their journey, a shared narrative of growth, courage, and redefining purpose. In the depths of emotional turmoil, they had discovered genuine transformation. They were not just navigating the rough waters of trauma together, they were conquering their pasts, forging a brighter future hand in hand. In that crisp evening air, with the world around them pulsating with life, Hannah felt a surge of satisfaction course through her veins, a culmination of growth that shimmered with promise and possibility. It was a defining moment, a testament to the indomitable strength that resided within them both. "Let's keep this conversation going," she said softly, holding his gaze. "We have each other, and that's a powerful start." Tony nodded, the tentative fear in his eyes replaced by a flicker of something new, an ember igniting in the darkness. "Yeah, I'd like that," he replied, warmth suffusing his voice. In that moment, a weight lifted. They would share this journey, undulating between uncertainty and empowerment, tethered to a vision that extended beyond the past, a narrative of resilience they would finally embrace together. As Hannah basked in the glow of their resolve, she realized she had achieved something monumental, not just transformation, but clarity, conviction, and a renewed sense of purpose. Now was the time to seize tomorrow, to stand firm in their right to redefine who they would become, unmarred by what had been. It was a testament to their evolution, an affirmation of shared strength that promised an unwavering path forward. You need to subscribe now to ensure you never miss a moment of these powerful transformations. Leave a like now to give life to our stories and feed the algorithm. Comment below with your thoughts and theories on this journey of redemption. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see the incredible power of healing and transformation. Don't wait even one more second to support the channel.